The moment Bills Mafia had been waiting for is finally here. The initial 53-man roster is in, and there's plenty to unpack. After months of speculation, training camp battles, surprising standouts, and tough decisions, we finally get a glimpse at what this Buffalo Bills squad is shaping up to be heading into the 2025 season. And while yes, this is just the initial roster, meaning things are going to change, some quickly and some subtly over the coming days, it's still our first real indication of how the coaching staff is evaluating their talent heading into Week 1 against Baltimore. Let's start where it always begins, under center. Quarterback. No surprises here. Josh Allen remains the unquestioned face of the franchise, the engine that drives this team. Backing him up is Mitch Trubisky, holding onto that QB2 spot, just as many projected. The Bills stick with two quarterbacks on the active roster, which has been their preference in recent years. That meant saying goodbye, at least for now, to Mike White and Shane Buechele. The intrigue here lies in what happens next. Assuming both clear waivers, the Bills will likely look to bring at least one of them back onto the practice squad. But which one? Buechele has experience in that scout team role, replicating opposing QBs during practice, while Mike White was genuinely competing for the backup spot behind Allen. If you have the chance to keep both, do you? Do you choose experience and familiarity in Buechele, or the upside and live-arm talent of White? It's the kind of behind-the-scenes chess match that rarely gets headlines, but says a lot about how the team prepares week to week. Now to the running backs, and again, mostly chalk here. The Bills are keeping four, including fullback Reggie Gilliam, who continues to prove his value as a versatile and physical presence. James Cook enters the year as the lead back, a dynamic playmaker with big expectations. Rookie Ray Davis makes the roster after a strong preseason, showing power, vision, and reliability in pass protection. Ty Johnson rounds out the group, a player who's made the most of his opportunities and seems poised for a rotational role. The casualties at running back include Elijah Young, who had only just joined the team before the final preseason game, and Frank Gore Jr., who once again finds himself on the outside looking in. That said, there's every reason to believe the Bills will try to bring Gore Jr. back to the practice squad. He's impressed for 2 straight off seasons now, and while it's tough to imagine another team using a valuable roster spot on him, stranger things have happened. This feels like another Raheem Blackshear or Antonio Williams situation, where the Bills hope to sneak him through waivers and stash him as a reliable option in case injuries pile up. Wide receiver is where things get a little spicy. This was the position group most ripe for surprise, and we got one. Tyrell Shavers makes the roster. And honestly, it's a fantastic story. After spending the past 2 seasons grinding it out on the practice squad, Shavers came into camp this year and absolutely earned his spot. There's no other way to say it. He demanded attention with his play. The Bills could have easily gone into the season with 5 receivers, but Shavers made it impossible to cut him. And here's the kicker. His ability to contribute on special teams give him a leg up on guys like Elijah Moore, who may be more of a depth piece behind someone like Curtis Samuel, but doesn't offer the same versatility. Shavers brings size, length, verticality, and he's shown he can play that boundary receiver role effectively. In a receiving core that includes rookie Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Josh Palmer, and the aforementioned Samuel and Moore, Shavers now finds himself part of a core group that blends speed, size, and scheme versatility. For Shavers, this is the next chapter in what could be a very compelling arc. Can he now transition from roster hopeful to active contributor? Time will tell, but he's earned a shot. The names that didn't make it at wide receiver aren't overly shocking, but they are notable. Stephen Gosnell, Grant Dubose, Laviska Shenault, KJ Hamler, Deion Kane, and Christian Wilkerson all got released, with a few of them likely on the short list for practice squad callbacks. Laviska Shenault, in particular, is a name that once carried real weight in NFL circles, but his career has just never taken off the way some expected. Hamler still has explosive traits, but availability has been his biggest issue. Tight end. Exactly what you expected. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox headline the group, and Jackson Haw makes the team as tight end number 3. Haw was drafted with this role in mind and did nothing in camp or preseason to cast doubt on that decision. He He was reliable, showed solid hands, and proved he could be a capable blocker. Among the cuts here were Matt Soul, Key Lou, and Zach Davidson, all of whom were long shots from the start. So this group is set and solid. So through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, you're looking at a very on-script roster, with the exception of that Tyrell Shaver storyline, which is just the kind of preseason victory fans love to rally behind. But the meat of any roster, especially in Buffalo, is always going to be found in the trenches. Let's head to the offensive line, and there's a lot to talk about here. The Bills are rolling with 9 offensive linemen. The starting 5 is no surprise. Deion Dawkins, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, and Spencer Brown. That group is locked in. The depth, however, gets interesting. Alec Anderson, Ryan Van DeMark, Chase Lunt, and Cedric Van Pran-Granger round out the backups. Let's talk about Van Pran-Granger for a second. The fact that the team activated him off the physically unable to perform list and put him on the roster, despite him missing all of camp and the entire preseason, speaks volumes. It says they believe in his long-term potential and want him integrated into the building immediately. They could have easily stashed him a bit longer to buy more time. They didn't. That tells us they see something worth developing here, and soon. Chase Lunt's presence on the roster may be more of a stopgap move. Tyler Guile was placed on injured reserve due to concussion symptoms that have lingered far longer than expected, and it's clear the team needed another interior option ready to go. When Guile returns, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see Lunt waived and potentially re-signed to the practice squad if he clears. Injuries always shuffle the depth chart, but the O-line appears stable heading into the regular season. Notable cuts include Rush Reimer, Richard Garage, Mike Edwards, Jacob Bear, Dan Feeney, Travis Clayton, and Kendrick Green. And here's an interesting wrinkle with Clayton. As part of the International Pathway Program, the Bills can carry him as a 17th member of the practice squad, which is likely where this is headed. He didn't play football growing up, coming from a rugby background in England, and just the fact that he got reps in preseason games this year is a major milestone in his development. He's still a long shot, but there's genuine progress. At defensive end, the Bills are keeping 5. Greg Rousseau, Joey Boza, A.J. Epineza, Landon Jackson, and Javon Solomon. With Michael Ho suspended to start the year, there's some breathing room here, but this group is built for rotation and pressure. Boza's addition could be game-changing if he stays healthy, and Rousseau continues to rise as a dominant presence off the edge. Cuts here included Nelson Caesar and Parrish Shand, neither a major shock. But once again, we have to circle back to a theme that's come up multiple times now. What happens when suspended players come back? Whether it's Ogunjobi or Ho, their returns are going to trigger a reshuffling of the roster. It could be more than just a name here or there. There's real potential for a mid-season reset. The first 6 weeks of the season feel like a proving ground. Perform, stay healthy, and your spot might stick. Fall short, and someone's coming for it. That sets the stage for a pretty fascinating early season stretch. The Bills have 6 games before their bye, then face Carolina and Kansas City in what could be tone-setting matchups for the rest of the year. Don't be surprised if that bye week becomes the launching point for a fresh wave of roster adjustments. Coming up, we're diving into the back 7, linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties, and yes, special teams. There's a good story to tell at corner, and some key depth chart movement at safety. Stick with me. As we shift our focus to the defensive back 7 and specialists, there's still plenty to break down, and a few situations that might even hint at bigger storylines brewing beneath the surface. The linebacker room, for starters, finally feels like it's been trimmed to the right size. For a few years now, the Bills have gone a little heavier at the position than necessary, keeping 6 or more even when the depth chart didn't demand it. But not this time. Buffalo enters the season with 5 linebackers, a much more traditional setup, and honestly, it's a move that suggests real clarity from the coaching staff about who they trust and how they plan to use their personnel. Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano are the pillars. No surprises there. Bernard has grown into the green dot leadership role with a quiet confidence, while Milano is still playing at an all-pro level when healthy. Behind them, you've got Dorian Williams, who continues to develop and show flashes of the athleticism that made him such a compelling pick. Then there's Joe Andre, who earned his spot by proving he could be a core special teamer while showing enough functional range to step in if needed. But the name that may raise a few eyebrows here is Shaq Thompson. Yeah, that's right. Shaq Thompson makes a roster, and while it might have seemed like an afterthought signing back in the spring, he's now carved out a role that could end up being really important. What you saw in training camp was a veteran who hadn't lost a step, who brought energy to every session, and who reminded everyone why he was once a mainstay in Carolina's defense. He knows how to read an offense, he's been a signal caller, and he can play both linebacker spots if needed. That kind of flexibility is rare and valuable, especially for a defense that wants to stay multiple without constantly rotating players off the field. He may not be a weekly starter, but in a league where injuries strike fast and unpredictably, having a player like Shaq ready to go is a luxury most teams don't have. The cuts at linebacker, Jimmy Charlo, Adwan Yolojo, and Kud Jenkins, were expected but still tough. Charlo especially showed heart and hustle in the preseason, and if there's room on the practice squad, you'd imagine the Bills will try to keep him in the building. Yolojo, a fifth-round pick last year, simply didn't develop fast enough to hold off a veteran like Thompson, and that's the cold reality of the NFL. Now let's turn the spotlight to the cornerback room, which may hold one of the most optimistic updates on the entire roster. The Bills are carrying 6 corners into Week 1. Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, Tre'Davious White, Jamarcus Ingram, Dorian Strong, and Brandon Codrington. But the real story here starts with Maxwell Hairston. He begins the year on injured reserve, designated to return, which means he'll miss at least the first 4 games. And that's okay. This was never going to be a guy who came in and dominated right away. His training camp was a roller coaster. Flashes of real promise followed by some rough reps that showed just how steep the learning curve is at corner in the NFL. Add in a knee injury that now needs time to fully recover, and the Bills are taking the smart path. Give him time, let him get healthy, and don't rush his development. Because when Hairston finally returns, his upside is the kind of thing that could elevate this secondary to the next level. And here's the twist. Tre'Davious White is not starting the year on injured reserve. That's a huge sign. We haven't gotten the full picture yet, but if there were major concerns about White's availability, there's no way the Bills would have released Dane Jackson, a player who started nearly 30 games over the past few years and who knows the system inside and out. That decision alone gives a very strong indication that White's injury, whatever it may be, is not expected to sideline him long-term. We'll hear more from Brandon Beane soon, but the writing is on the wall. White may not miss any games at all, or if he does, it won't be many. That's a huge sigh of relief for a defense that still revolves around his ability to lock down the outside. Now, about Brandon Codrington. This one continues to stir debate. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't contribute on multiple special teams units. But he's still here. Why? Because he's the best return man the Bills have. And sometimes that's all it takes. With the new kickoff rules expected to shift the importance of the return game, having someone who can consistently flip the field becomes incredibly valuable. You'd prefer if Codrington could also offer you depth at corner or play more phases of special teams. But at the end of the day, if he's the only one who can do the return job at a high level, then that's his ticket. It also saves other players from having to double up, like Khalil Shakir handling punts or Ty Johnson taking back kicks. This kind of roster efficiency, even if it doesn't look perfect on paper, gives the coaching staff more flexibility elsewhere. Will it last the whole season? That depends. Once Hairston is ready to return, or if another injury shifts the numbers game, Codrington might be the odd man out. But for now, his value as a specialist has earned him a spot. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers have been circulating across the NFL world that CeeDee Lamb, the dynamic wide receiver whose explosiveness on the field has captivated fans for years, might just be on the verge of joining the Buffalo Bills in what some insiders are already calling the biggest signing in the franchise's history. The notion alone has sent a ripple through social media platforms, sports radio shows, and locker room chatter, as analysts debate the potential impact of adding a player of Lamb's caliber to an already potent Bills offense. Rumors suggest that front office discussions have intensified behind closed doors, with sources claiming that the organization sees Lamb as the key piece to finally push the team over the top in their quest for a Super Bowl appearance. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the sheer volume of speculation suggests that the deal could be closer to reality than fans might imagine, leaving Buffalo's loyal supporters on edge as they imagine the possibilities of seeing Lamb line up alongside Josh Allen, stretching defenses and creating mismatches across the league. Conversations in bars, stadium parking lots, and fan forums have all reflected the same sentiment. If Lamb arrives, the Bills are no longer just contenders. They might be unstoppable. Even rival teams are reportedly keeping a wary eye on the situation, as the potential shakeup could alter the balance of power in the AFC. Behind the scenes, insiders hint at an unprecedented negotiation process, with the Bills' front office rumored to have pulled out every stop in an effort to secure Lamb's commitment. Talks are said to have included not only financial incentives, but promises of creative offensive freedom, marketing opportunities, and leadership roles within the locker room. The speculation has ignited debates among pundits, with some insisting that Lamb represents the ultimate missing piece in Buffalo's championship puzzle, while others caution that expectations may be inflated by the buzz itself. Nevertheless, the notion of Lamb donning the Bills' colors has created an undercurrent of excitement in Buffalo, transforming casual observers into obsessive followers of every reported detail. Analysts have been combing through prior performances, highlighting Lamb's route-running precision, catching radius, and ability to perform in high-pressure situations, suggesting that his addition could fundamentally reshape how opposing defenses prepare for the Bills. Fans have reportedly begun planning for a new era, imagining stadium chants, jersey sales, and highlight reels dominated by Lamb's spectacular plays. The rumor mill has escalated to the point where even minor hints of contract progress spark viral attention, leaving the sports world speculating about the monumental implications. Conversations in podcasts, social media threads, and informal sports betting circles all point to the idea that Lamb's arrival would mark a historic moment for the franchise. Inside the locker room, murmurs suggest that current Bills players are abuzz with the idea of Lamb joining their ranks, with sources claiming that veteran leaders view him as a transformative presence capable of elevating team morale and performance. Some insiders hint at informal meetings and off-the-record conversations in which teammates discuss how Lamb's skill set could unlock the offense in ways previously unattainable, particularly in critical moments during the postseason. Rumors have even spread regarding potential adjustments to playbooks designed to maximize Lamb's speed, agility, and football IQ, creating a symbiotic relationship with quarterback Josh Allen that could leave defenses scrambling. Fan speculation online paints dramatic pictures of explosive touchdowns, game-changing plays, and historic season statistics, fueling the sense that the Bills are on the brink of something extraordinary. Even media coverage has begun to amplify the notion, with sports journalists teasing the potential signing without any official confirmation, further feeding the frenzy. If Lamb does indeed join Buffalo, insiders suggest that his presence could influence contract negotiations, draft strategies, and long-term planning, cementing his role not only as a superstar on the field, but as a cornerstone of the franchise's future. Rumors of stadium celebrations, fan rallies, and record-breaking merchandise sales have already started circulating, demonstrating how potent the excitement surrounding Lamb's potential signing has become. On a broader scale, the NFL community is reportedly watching the situation with a mixture of envy and apprehension, as sources suggest rival teams are reevaluating their strategies in light of the rumored deal. Analysts on national broadcasts are dissecting every possible scenario, speculating about how Lamb's presence might force defenses to rethink coverage schemes and alter the AFC hierarchy. Sports betting lines and fantasy football projections are allegedly being updated in real time based solely on circulating whispers, reflecting the high stakes and massive anticipation generated by the possibility of Lamb joining Buffalo. Insider commentary suggests that league executives are monitoring the situation closely, aware that a signing of this magnitude could have ripple effects throughout scheduling, playoff predictions, and media narratives. Meanwhile, fans across the country are reportedly engaging in intense debates about whether this signing would finally push Buffalo into championship contention or create unrealistic expectations that could backfire. Social media trends, hashtags, and viral posts indicate that excitement is peaking even before anything has been finalized, with a sheer volume of discussion suggesting that CeeDee Lamb's potential arrival has already altered the national sports conversation. Observers note that even casual fans are becoming immersed in the buzz, sharing theories, mock plays, and speculative highlight reels imagining Lamb's impact on the Bills' offensive schemes and overall identity. The rumor, though unconfirmed, has undeniably transformed Buffalo's offseason into a theater of anticipation and speculation unlike any other in recent memory. In the midst of all this speculation, insiders claim that the front office's strategy may involve more than just acquiring a superstar. They allegedly see Lamb as a cultural pivot point, someone who can redefine the franchise's image, energize the fan base, and inspire the next generation of athletes. Reports suggest that marketing teams are already contemplating campaigns featuring Lamb, with his personal brand and on-field charisma expected to drive engagement, merchandise sales, and media attention. Off-field initiatives are rumored to be under discussion, including community events, charity projects, and interactive fan experiences, all leveraging Lamb's star power. Analysts speculate that the Bills' leadership may have recognized the dual importance of athletic performance and marketability in today's NFL landscape, understanding that a player of Lamb's stature offers both competitive advantage and cultural influence. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.